In this episode, I'm going to show you guys how you guys can go about filing on your logo for your mobile app. So real quick, I have the logo already prepared. I'll show it to you guys. So this is the logo. And then also show you guys the sample specimen. In other words, the front facing page. So this is the wheel-bound application that Victoria helped me come up with in this hypothetical. And again, as you can see, we have the wheel-bound logo up on the upper right and with the TM next to it, meaning that we don't yet have it registered, but we want to register it. So let's get started. The first thing you guys are going to want to do is you're going to want to go to tsdr.uspto.gov. And I'm already at the site here. Now, once you get here, you're going to want to click on File Online. And again, if you guys forgot how to do this for some reason, just Google USPTO file trademark and it'll take you right where you need to go. But I'm going to go ahead and click File Online. When you scroll down, you're going to see this option called Initial Application Forms. That's the one that you want. This is the way to get started. And then when you scroll down further, you're going to want to click Start Your Application in TEAS. I'm already logged into uspto.gov, so it's going to take me directly to the application. However, if you're doing this on your own and you're doing this for the first time, it's going to prompt you to log into your uspto.gov account. One of the options is going to be creating a uspto.gov account. That's what you're going to want to do. Now, it's really, really simple to do that, and it's pretty easy. So just follow the prompts and input your information. I always encourage people to use two-factor authentication. So it sends you an email with a code and you put that code in. Highly encourage you guys to set up your USPTO.gov accounts and enable two-factor authentication. They may even require it these days. I'm not actually 100% on that. Let's scroll down. Now, this is where you're going to get to if you're already logged in. Again, I'm going to continue the content around how to do plus applications. So if you're trying to save $50, I get $50 is quite a bit of money. So if you're trying to save that sort of cash, then this is the video for you. Again, we're going to do the TEAS Plus. We're going to do from the perspective of an individual. Okay, so this is an individual filing for their mobile application already released, and they want to protect their logo. The first thing that the application is going to have you do is it's going to have you input the owner information for the owner of the mark. So in here, the first option is for us to input the owner name. So I'm going to go ahead and input my name, and I just do it with last name, comma first, followed by the initial. This is the standard format, and they actually prompt you to do that. They actually provide you last name, first name, and middle initial. I'm going to go ahead and select individual, and it's going to ask me for my citizenship. So for my citizenship, I'm going to go ahead and input my citizenship down here, and then I'm going to go ahead and scroll down and input my address. Now, this next block here is my mailing address. Broadway, this is a co-working space, city, and then the state, and then postal code. Now, this next box down here, if you guys are public figures or have a huge following or presence, you may not want your followers to exactly know your exact domicile address. So here's the issue. The issue is that PO boxes are generally not accepted, and so you need to have a physical address. So what the Trademark Office lets you do is it lets you uncheck this box here and input your domicile address, and it'll keep that confidential. And so then you can put your PO box up here. Again, everything that you put in this application and file was going to be eventually public, except this is the one exception that entered addresses here are not going to be publicly viewable on the USPTO database. So just keep that in mind. If you guys have a huge public persona and you don't want to keep your home address confidential, then you might want to consider putting it here instead of up here, where it's going to be exposed to the world. Now, when you scroll down, it's going to ask you to input your phone number and fax. Again, these are not required. I generally have been not showing in my videos that you maybe don't want to put your phone number in there just to keep it off the public record. So it's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and opt to not put it in. I'm going to go ahead and put my personal address, and then website address. Again, this is optional. You don't actually need to have a website address either. Now, when I click continue, it's going to give me a warning. It's going to say, hey, you didn't input your phone number. But that's not a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and click continue. It's just a warning. It's not going to reject my application just based on that. It's going to let me continue filing. Now, this is the part where we actually get to input our mark. Now, I'm going to show you guys how to do it for your logo. Now, remember, when we say logo, we just mean a visual design. So that can actually be more than just a logo. It could also be an icon, possibly, if that's what identifies your good or service. So your app. So that's something to keep in mind. We have clients that do that too, that they'll actually pursue mark protection for their icons. So something to keep in mind. Now, when we click special form, that's what you're going to want to do if you're going to be filing a design mark. And when we scroll down, it's going to let us choose our file. Now, one thing that I want to stress, so I already prepared the logo beforehand, but one thing you might notice is it's in black and white. Another thing you're going to notice is that it's pretty large. So I like to submit larger logos just so I feel like they show up better on register. So what I recommend doing, and again, what I've done here is I've shown you guys what the pixel requirements are. So in no dimension can the pixel count be less than 250. And the maximum pixel count in any one dimension is 944. So what I like to do is I like to make it nice and big and expand it out up to the 944. What you're going to see in this particular video is that this logo is actually not at the 944 mark, but it's still pretty large. And for me, I think this is going to look pretty good on the register. Again, grayscale, remember, if you guys actually have distinctive colors that you want to protect, it is possible. And the system actually prompts you to do that. I'm going to show you guys how to do that down here. But first, let's choose the file. I'm uploading .jpegs. PDFs are also acceptable. When you click attach, it's going to show up here eventually. It's just loading. You choose the file, you click attach, and then when it shows up here, that's how you know it was done successfully. And if you click open a link in a new tab, you can see it again. This is actually how it's been uploaded to the trademark system. Now, for the literal element, you're just going to input what text appears in the actual design. So in this case, it's just the name of our application, which is wheelbound. If you're claiming color as a feature of the mark, you're going to want to leave this box unchecked, and then you're going to want to input the colors. Okay, so gray and blue. In this case, we're not claiming color as a feature of the mark. We're going to go black and white. So I'm going to go ahead and check this box. We're not claiming color as a feature of the mark. The mark consists of, this is where you input a description of what the design is. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the mark consists of a visual design of a wheel with the text wheelbound at the center. One thing I want to point out, the system actually adds the period for you at the end. And it actually reminds you right here, end period is automatic. The mark consists of is going to go in the beginning, and then it's going to follow with a visual design, yada, 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 and then it's going to end with a period. You don't have to worry about adding the period at the end. All you then do is click continue. Then we get to the part where we get to actually input what the service is. So when you scroll down, remember, we're doing this the TEAS Plus. So we're stuck with the canned description of goods and services. So you're gonna click add goods and services. Now the trade-off, remember, is that we're saving $50. I generally recommend just go for the TEAS standard. Then you have full latitude. You can type in whatever you want in the box. Of course, assuming that it's within the appropriate class of goods and services, but you just have that flexibility. So you can really word it the way you want. So I'm gonna go ahead and type in mobile application and then click search. And so then it's gonna show me all the hits that have related to mobile applications. So just so you guys understand, what we're looking for with the TEAS standard is two things. We want to make sure we hit the right class. This is a good way to figure out, make sure that we're in the right class. So here you can see there's a lot of options related to mobile applications. So if you were unsure whether or not your mobile app falls under class 9, this would give you a lot more confidence, right? Because now you see a whole bunch of examples, mobile applications all under class 9. Now, what we're looking for, canned descriptions that have these curly braces, because this gives you latitude to actually input information that you want to input. Basically, it's going to give you it's going to give you text box, and you can type in whatever you want in that text box. So this is what you're looking for. You want descriptions like this because they give you more flexibility to really define what your app is in your own words. So for example, this one up here, this one's going to give you 0 latitude. So that's what you're going to get. Downloadable mobile applications for booking taxis. That's it. You don't get to add any additional text defining what the application actually does, right? So a lot more limited, right? So keep that in mind. However, if we scroll down, there's one that this is another good example, downloadable children's educational mobile applications. Maybe that's spot on. Maybe that's exactly what your mobile application covers. So maybe that's okay. But again, if we scroll down, there's one that's particularly good that we've been using. This one's not bad. Down below, there's one that just says, yeah, downloadable computer application software for. And then this one's good where you can actually say the devices. So you can say tablet, mobile phones, and then namely software for, and then explain what the app does. But if you scroll down even more, there's one that's really just really tight that lets you just input all the text you want. Yeah, right here, downloadable mobile applications for. So this one's pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and select this one. So you just check the box and then you scroll up or down and click on insert checkbox, insert checked entries. So when you do that, it's gonna tell you, hey, between the curly braces, you can put any text you want. So we're going to go ahead and in here, downloadable mobile applications for, we're going to go ahead and put in what our app does. And Victoria came up with editing and producing video content. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to add the period just for stylistic reasons, not required. Once I click insert checked entries, then it's going to return me back to the application. Here we go. So downloadable mobile applications for editing and producing video content right there. There you see it right there. One thing I want to remind everybody, we're doing Section 1A applications in these videos, which means that in these hypotheticals, we've already released our mobile application to the world. So it's already on the App Store. It's already on the Google Play Store. It's already accessible online, downloadable by consumers. So really important. It's already in use. So it's not what would be a 1B application, which is also referred to as an intent to use application. The intent to use applications, we did a whole series on how you guys could do that. Also a really, really powerful tool. If you guys haven't yet started building your app, go back and watch the videos on intent to use applications, because you're going to want to file trademark applications on your app name and logo, and you're going to want to do it sooner rather than later, because it takes a few months anyways. And so by the time you release the first version of your app, it'd be nice to have a solid trademark that you can rely on. Once you click Section 1A, it's going to bring down several prompts. So some of the things that you're going to need to do are provide specimens, date of first use anywhere, and then date of use in commerce. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to attach our specimen. Now our specimen, I showed you guys right here. This is our specimen. Again, it's a PDF, and obviously this is made up and hypothetical, but for the most part, this is what you want. You want your mark next to the actual good or service, so downloadable application, and then you want a means. You want to show a means for the person to actually download the application. So in this case, here's download app. So that's a button, right? We're going to go ahead and we're going to upload this. And again, specimens, PDFs, generally acceptable. So I recommend PDF format. Pretty reliable. So I'm going to go ahead and upload the PDF. It's going to take you to this page here. All you do is click choose file, and then you're going to want to select your PDF. Okay, and click attach. Now when I click open link in new tab, I can just make sure this is how it actually looks on the trademark office site. When you click return to form, it's going to take you back to this is kind of confusing to me, but when you click return to form, it takes you back here. And you know it's been uploaded because if you scroll over, see it has one file attached. So you know you did it correctly. So it's been uploaded and it's part of the application now. Now, for the description of specimen, I'm going to go ahead and describe what it is. Now, I want to say really, really important thing. Anytime you have a specimen that's a web page, you have to provide two things. Now, this is a recent rule. They just imposed this starting in February of this year, but you have to include the URL of the web page and the date that you accessed it. So I'm going to go ahead and put in, so it's a web page. So it's a screenshot of a web page. And then I just like to put the URL. So I'm just making this part up, but I'm going to go ahead and input the app name, wheelbound.html. I'm going to say accessed. This is very important, guys. You got to put the access date. So I'm going to go ahead and put accessed on. I'm just going to put today's date, October 6, 2020. You describe what it shows. So not screenshot, not screen show. Showing the mark. We're going to say the applied for mark next to screenshots, next to screenshots of the mobile application, and a link and a button to download the mobile application. So kind of wordy, but it really spells it out, right? So you have the screenshot, and then below the screenshot, you have the actual button that lets you download the app. Now, date of first use anywhere, I'm going to go ahead and just use 1/6/2020, and the date of first use in commerce. Let's just assume that I released it on Monday. So that's the date that I released the app to the App Store. Now, one thing that I want to remind everybody of, really to have use in commerce, you need to somehow involve interstate commerce. In other words, our personal opinion is that you want to have at least one download from an out-of-state consumer. Now, obviously, web worldwide, right? I mean, probably anyone in the world can probably download your application. That may not be entirely correct. There might be some regional constraints, but for the most part, most applications are available to a really, really broad audience that extends certainly outside your state, and most likely outside the US, depending on the settings. Again, just keep that in mind. I mean, if you have 0 downloads, you might want to consider reevaluating the date of first use of the mark in commerce. If you really truly have nobody downloading your application, you may not have invoked interstate commerce. So I encourage you guys to be conservative. I think it's more important almost to have a filing date and to show that you're taking steps to protect your brand, but then also to promote your brand and that you're putting your application out there. I think that's really, really important. Having these dates and making sure that they're correct and true, I think it's going to give you more value in the long run. So we're actually done with all the requirements for Section 1A. So I can go ahead and click Assign Filing Basis. Again, just to recap, so we provided a specimen, a description of the specimen, and then we provided two critical dates: the date of first use anywhere and the date of first use of the mark in commerce. Now, again, under a Section 1A application, you guys, this date of first use in commerce is extremely important, because this is really when your rights really start to accrue. So it's really important. Try to get the earliest date that you possibly can, obviously, but make sure that that's in fact the true date. All right, so we're going to click assign filing basis. We're actually almost done with this application. So we covered most of the really important bits. The rest is signing and making sure the rest of the application is correct. But again, here we go. Class 9, this covers downloadable software and downloadable mobile applications for editing and producing video content. And that is the description of goods and services. And this is our assigned filing basis. So we're filing under section 1A, which means that we're already using the mark in commerce. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue. I'm going to go ahead and put a docket number. I like to use docket codes. Really important if you have a lot of cases. If you want to keep track of everything, you got to use docket codes. For secondary email addresses, I encourage everybody to add their teammates. So again, this is my email. That's the primary. But then secondary, I would encourage you guys to add it. If you have any teammates or people that help you with trademarks, colleagues, anyone that's on your team, add their email addresses here because you don't want anything to slip through the cracks. If you get correspondence from the trademark office, you usually have 6 months. Yeah, it sounds like a long time, but we're super busy people. So it's really easy. If you miss that email and don't get it, your trademark application will go abandoned. We get tons of calls from people that have applications that go in abandoned for one reason or another. They didn't get notice of the office action. So better, I think, to include additional people. You're not going to get a whole lot of spam from the USPTO. So it's a good idea. If you guys have teammates, just put their emails in here, assistants, or just anyone on your team that is part of this trademarking process. Again, if you put up to 4, so go ahead and if you want to put more, just add a semicolon and then type their email addresses here. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And then this is where I actually sign the application, also referred to as validation. Again, we're doing one class of goods. Each class is $225. So if we were doing 2 classes, it'd be $550. And again, I'm going to assign directly into the form. Now, the declaration trips up a lot of people. I'm going to break it down for you guys. So the first checkbox is just saying that you're filing under either section 1A or section 1B. That or really throws people off. So basically, this is the same declaration. I'll just tell you guys now. It's the same declaration for both actual use applications and intent to use applications. And the way they get around that is by having this or here. So only one of the two are going to apply, really. I mean, so if we're going under section 1A, then the top section is going to apply to you. This basically is saying that you've been using the mark in commerce, and down below it actually breaks down the various parts of these statements. So the second checkbox you have to mark is basically saying that, to the best of your knowledge, you actually have a right to use this mark in commerce. So there isn't some other individual or entity that is using a similar mark for the same goods and services as you. Okay, so the third checkbox is saying that there's factual support for the statements that you're making in this application. Factual support, for example, like our specimen, for example. And then the fourth is just reminding you guys that you're signing under penalty of perjury. So any false statements, willfully false, could subject you to fine or imprisonment. So once you mark these 4 checkboxes, and again, if you guys are doing this yourselves, read every single word in this application. At worst, you're going to learn something. I know it's monotonous, but it's part of the job of doing a good job on your trademark application and understanding what this application signifies. So for the signature, they make it really easy. All you do is put your name within slashes. And then if you click the date box, it actually auto-populates the date for you with today's date. And then signature name. I like to put my last name, comma, first name, followed by my initial. And if you're doing this as an individual, you're probably the owner. Some people like to put holder, so you can put owner/holder or just holder. And then phone number, again, phone number is optional. So I'm going to go ahead and opt to not put my phone number in, just to keep more information off of the public record. So once I click validate, it's going to take me to the very last page where I can review everything. Now, not until it warns me, however, that I haven't input my phone number. Again, I'm going to skip that. I'm okay with not inputting my phone number. Now, once we get to here, we are at the very, very last page, so we're almost done. When you click input, it's going to actually show you your application, so you can see. So you're going to want to look at your application and make sure that you did everything correctly. And in particular, you're going to want to make sure that you have the right mark. One thing that I've reiterated a lot in these videos is you want to make sure your mark's correct, because you can't go back and change the actual mark. In order to do that, you have to file a whole new application. And the application actually reminds you at the end, makes you check a box that says you understand that there are no refunds. So again, this is our mark. It's the wheel-bound mark. This is a description of the mark. So it's a visual design of a wheel with the text wheel bound at the center. Notice I didn't go to the 944 pixel count limit, but 624 is actually pretty good too. So it's not a big deal. And then again, this is my name. So I'm the holder. This is my co-working space address and my email. This email is super, super important because again, this is where correspondence is going to go. And again, this is I'm filing as an individual. We're going to create a lot of awesome videos for you guys on how you guys can do it for your company. So once your company releases the mobile application, you're going to want to check out those videos so that you guys can see how you can go about protecting your logo or word mark for your mobile application. And again, we're going to go with class 9, downloadable mobile applications for editing and producing video content. And again, these are the 4 requirements for the Section 1A applications. You need to have the data first use anywhere. Actually, I didn't say much earlier in the video, but real quick, data first use anywhere, that could be the date that you first bought the domain, that you first made a brochure, a promotional ad, landing page, anything where you first put the mark out there to the world, okay, for the purposes of promoting your mobile application, even before the mobile application was available, that would be a valid first use anywhere date. Legally, the first use in commerce date is super important. That's the date that you have a first out-of-state consumer, so someone from out of state downloading your mobile application. Specimen file name, this is just the link to the specimen. And then this is the description of the specimen. So it's a screenshot of a web page. And again, 2 really, really important things. Anytime the specimen is a web page, you need to have the URL of the web page and the date that the URL was accessed. So super important. And again, it's marked next to screenshots of the mobile application and a button to download the mobile application. And again, this is our docket number. This is Victoria's email, super important so that she doesn't let anything slip through the cracks. And then 225 is the filing fee per class. So we're looking at 225 for this application. And again, this is my validation signature. So everything looks good. I'm going to go ahead and click back. Now, let's say I found a typo or I wanted to fix something. They make it super easy. All you have to do is click go back to modify. If you scroll to the very bottom, go back to modify. You can actually step backwards through every part of this application and update it at any part of it. And when you go forwards, it actually saves the information. So you can go forwards and backwards. So again, they make it super, super easy for you guys. You don't have to worry about losing information when you go forwards or backwards. Now, if you're not 100% sure about submission today, you can always save the form and it downloads what's called a .obj file. That .obj file you can then use to upload the application and work on it tomorrow. So when you upload the .obj file at the very beginning of the application process, it actually restores your entire session. So it makes it super easy for you guys to save your work essentially, and then come back tomorrow. I can have a conversation with Victoria and we can firm up the description of goods and services or whatever, and then I can file tomorrow. And again, it'll save all my information. So I can click, just click right through. Quicker way to do it rather than having to input all your information all over again. Now, for the last checkbox, this is really important. They make you read and check 3 items. The first item is that they want to remind you there's no refunds. I already told you guys. If you guys submit the wrong logo, you're out of luck. You got to submit a whole new application, pay a whole nother $225. They're not going to let you update the actual logo, or if it's a word mark, they're not going to let you update the word. The second item is that there's no right to confidentiality. So everything that you put in this application is going to be out in the public and it's going to publish. And so for that reason, they remind you of item 3. Item 3 basically explains that you're probably going to get some unsolicited scam mail in your mailbox, unfortunately. And again, they give you a bunch of examples of what these scam letters look like, but they look really real. They trip up a lot of our clients. They result in us getting a lot of phone calls from our clients saying, hey, I got this letter saying I have to pay this fee for my application to publish. It's 100% bogus. Just, you can disregard it. But if you guys are not 100% sure or are concerned, just go to this trademark office site. Just Google misleading notices, USPTO, or again, come back and rewatch the video. But we actually have we have an episode on misleading notices. But again, if they look really real, you're never going to have to mail a payment into the trademark office. Okay, it's all done through their portal. So that's a huge tell right away, is that this is clearly a shakedown service. They have some bogus PO box where you're supposed to mail a check to. So watch out with these scams. Again, the trademark office is all the payments that you make to the trademark office. Even later, for the renewals, for the extensions of time, for the statements of use, you submit those payments through the trademark office site. So you're never going to mail anything. Application looks good. So we're going to go ahead and click submit. Again, these are 3 notices. We check the box and then we click pay submit. And then it takes you to the very, very, very end where you actually pay. Now, once you pay for the application, once you submit your credit card information and pay the $225, it's going to spit out a filing receipt. That filing receipt is a PDF of the entire application as filed. So you just click credit card. Again, this is our docket number. This is the fee, $225 for one class of goods. And then when you scroll down, you put your address in and click submit payment. So again, once you're done submitting the payment, it's going to offer you a option to download. It's going to say submitted, and it's going to provide you with a serial number. That serial number is super important because what you can do is you can go to tsdr.uspto.gov and check on the status of your application at any time. So again, they make it super, super simple. Just go to tsdr.uspto.gov and you just type in your serial number. And again, let's say you didn't, for some reason, download the PDF after you submitted. It's okay. You're going to get an email with the serial number and with all the information that you submitted in your application. I hope this was super useful content for you guys. So thank you so much for watching.